hey, look, I didn't even get a chance to brush my teeth because these kids got me as soon as I woke up. And it's like they got me as soon as I woke up. But to see both sides, right? The joys and the pains. Hi, I'm Kelli.
And I'm Danni.
Welcome back to the ProCreatives Podcast for moms who make things.
The podcast for moms and future moms who are navigating their creative careers as they raise their little inspirations. What a time to be alive!
Yes, girl.
A Black woman of Jamaican and Indian descent and a bonus mom of 2 is running for president. Blah, blah, blah.
I'm excited. It's definitely an interesting time to be alive for sure.
Listen.
On the other side of that, we have another woman and a mother, Sonia Massey, who was murdered in cold blood by police. We're taking this moment to say her name and honor her life and pray that she and her family receive the justice that they deserve.
Definitely. Most definitely. But yes, it is. Somebody just posted that, saying we have a Black woman running for president, and then we're still having Black women murdered at the hands of police senselessly. So it is crazy. And we're hoping that there is we're looking forward to the bright light at the end of this tunnel.
Yeah. Ooh, I feel like we're always looking towards that.
Listen, but there is hope. You can't give it up. So mamas, please make sure you're taking care of yourself well, especially your mental health.
Definitely. And I think sometimes, we don't fully recognize how much what's happening in the world impacts us until we pause and literally take inventory of our hearts. We might find ourselves getting upset, oh, I'm not sure why I'm snapping right now. And it's actually, some of it might just be taking in what the world is giving and not really sifting through how much what's happening impacts us. So yeah, definitely checking on that mental health is critical.
It's a compilation of things for sure. There's so many things with all these things happening in the world. We're seeing some chatter online that's, there's a growing movement of women who are not interested in having children.
Yeah.
They don't even want to hear about it. And I wonder if it's because, moms are being honest. They're sharing their truth, and it's appearing scary. And I think in addition to that sharing truth, we need to also not just show the tough side, but also, show the joy as well, so that we're not giving an inaccurate picture of motherhood as well. Right?
Yeah, I think that's really good. And I'm glad to see that more of that honesty, because I do feel like a lot gets hidden from us, as children, but also growing up into adulthood and becoming a mom. I think it is definitely more unifying when people share their real experiences. Hey, look, I didn't even get a chance to brush my teeth because these kids got me as soon as I woke up. And it's they got me as soon as I woke up. But to see both sides, right? The joys and the pains. And honestly, I'll say sometimes online, you'll see people being honest, and it'll come in later when we talk about why we should really stop shaming people, whether they choose to be moms or they choose not to be moms. Because I'll see a mom being very honest online, even if it is in a joking way or just a real, I'm having a tough day. And people would be like, well, you chose to have kids. And it's yes, she did. And you chose to work at that job that you complain about.
And you have bad days. Exactly.
And you have bad days too, so yeah, I'm excited to get into this conversation, and we're definitely going to have grace and room. And this is not a platform where we're going to be shaming people for their decisions. So let's get into it. I know for myself, and Danielle, you and I, we have a lot in common, which I'm grateful for. Okay. So we have a framework of understanding for each other.
Yes.
But I know I personally wasn't really interested in having kids. And I think it's kind of the same for you. So what was your motivation to like, oh, okay, you know what? I could do this whole motherhood thing.
Honestly, it was my husband meeting my partner, the person I felt like I could do this with. Like, I knew him for ever since I was in diapers. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, it's an exaggeration, people. But no, I've spent a lot of time knowing him, and just realizing that he was consistent and loyal, and knowing those things um really made me feel secure in the idea that, okay, this is a possibility that we can do this thing. And it just really seemed like a natural progression of our relationship. We didn't have kids right out the gate. We did not say, oh, we got married, have children. We waited a good bit. And I think that was good for us as well, because we were trying our best to be intentional. And people would tell us all the time, oh, you can have kids. When you have kids, the food will come, the money will come, da da da. But we really wanted to be like a little more, intentional and thoughtful about the whole process. So we waited, and it was just one day. I was like, you know what? I think we should try. And he was like, okay, let's do it. It was really very odd. Like, that's been a lot of our relationship. Okay. But it wasn't my dream. Like, I didn't grow up thinking, oh my gosh. Like, there was times, I think, when I was a little girl, because you see it and you get baby
Yeah.
dolls. But as I got older, I was like, yeah, nah, this is not this kids. I was just like, that's a lot of responsibility. And I think when you see your parents too, you see your mom, like, after my parents separated, she was, single. And to see her having to do all that, I was like, oh, this is a lot. So it just didn't seem like something I wanted to do. I definitely didn't want to do it alone. And I was just like, because I was like, this ain't it. So, but yeah, I think it's just felt like the natural progression of things to do um, with him. And shout out to the moms who are doing it alone. Listen,
Yeah.
you
Shout out to
guys,
them.
yes, you guys are amazing.
Y'all are.
I keep, I pray that you guys continue to have like a great support team. And if you don't have one, I pray that you get one, because I know the support is needed and it's necessary.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah, really shout out to the moms, including, our moms. Like, shout out to them for holding
Yeah.
us down in a big
Oh
way.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, I think I definitely share, as I said, we have a similar like story in that way. I really wasn't interested, I would say, in being a mom. I remember only one scenario was like, if I had to have kids, I would, but I'm not really like, interested in going down that path, and definitely not alone. But
Right.
meeting my spouse, I was
Mhm.
like, I feel like you're going to be a good father. You're already a really good husband. And
Yeah.
that's what actually changed my mind, honestly, about being married and becoming a mom. It was
Mhm.
because my husband really like showed me that it's possible. Like,
Yeah, you could do
he's
this
just
thing.
showed me it's possible.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would say we got married in 2008, and then we had our Sarai, our oldest daughter, in fall 2010. So we did kind of way we wanted to spend like the first year together. But what's
Yeah.
so funny was we were like, we had the conversation similar to you all. We had the
Right.
conversation. We're like, you know what? We should try. And
Yeah.
literally, I blinked and I was pregnant.
I'm sorry, the blink. Oh man.
Like, you know what? We had a conversation about it. We were like, I think we should try, to expand our family. And the next thing I knew, man,
Oh my gosh.
it was
You better
like,
watch what
what?
you say, girl, because the Lord He blesses you, okay? He
It was
honors that
so,
word.
it caught me off guard. And honestly, I think if I'm honest at that time, because I was like 22, I want to say, at that time, I don't think I fully understood what it meant.
Right.
Um, and I've been learning ever since that
Right.
time.
We
Yeah,
we never we never know exactly what it means,
oh
okay?
yeah, that is that's the ideal, because you don't know. A lot of it is based on, okay, it's who I am, right? I'm also figuring out things about myself, and
Yeah, yeah,
new
yeah.
situations
Yeah.
push you to discover new things about yourself. And
Yeah.
marriage and having children, yeah, that's one thing, but also navigating loss and navigating a new job and a new state, all of
Yeah.
those things, right, help us to grow or navigate, unearth a different part of ourselves. And I think that's
Yeah.
what motherhood did for me in a positive way, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
also, ways that are challenging.
yeah. But no, it definitely felt like having children was like an extension of our love, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It was like, okay, we wanted to extend more of like, because we enjoyed each other so much. We were like, okay, this is our chance to like create our own family. Like, not to say we don't love our family, like where we come from, right? But like, when you first get with somebody, you have that bubble, like nothing else matters. We just
yeah,
wanted to expand the bubble a bit, and then add some, just add people to the bubble. So that really was what it was. And it wasn't. I don't feel it wasn't selfish. It wasn't like, oh, I just need a baby to hold or whatever. Because once again, I didn't have those. That wasn't my thing. Okay. I still
yeah.
to this day not like big on the, oh, let me just go hold your baby. I'm not that girl. I hold my baby. I do, and I will if you ask me to, but I was never, I'm not like kids, I can do toddlers, yeah. But babies, I'm like, ooh, they so fragile. Hold your baby.
Yeah, hold your baby close to
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
And I think, those were our reasons, but I do
Yeah.
think it's never as straightforward as like, oh, this is the one thing, right? There are
Right.
a lot of different reasons that folks have kids. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we want to highlight the healthy reasons because there are definitely some unhealthy reasons to have kids,
Right, right, right.
to have children.
Mm-hmm.
There are definitely some unhealthy, toxic
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
reasons. But
Yeah.
I think, just expanding on the reasons that some it's natural, right? There is a biological
Yeah.
response.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
like there's a reason why we ovulate monthly, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then I do think that we're wired. We're wired for community. We're wired for
Yeah.
family. Something within us says, you know what? Let's expand. And I like how you said that having children is an extension of our love. Like there's love there, and you're just expanding it by bringing another
Yeah.
person into the fold. And while
Yeah.
it is biological too,
Right.
or natural, like outcoming, like a natural
Right.
outcome
Mm-hmm.
of love, I'm just, it's a beautiful thing to be a part of.
And so even though we have that biological response, I like how you mentioned about community. Like, we are wired for group. We're not what do you call it, isolated individual. Like, we don't just live on an island by ourselves. We need our community, we need an extension, we need people, right? Even you'll notice same-sex couples, they opt to have children, they opt to want to expand their family as well. So it's not just because I don't, some people want to say, maybe make it seem like women just crazy and they baby hungry. It's not just a woman thing, okay? Some
Mhm.
men actually pressure their women partners, or they encourage, and say, listen, I want to have kids. And so it's not, one sex or the other. It's just, once again, it's just an expansion.
Yeah. And it
So,
is a beautiful thing. And I think
mhm.
sometimes like we can get caught up in the technical, maybe not necessarily the technical aspects, but
Yeah,
having
yeah,
kids, I'm not gonna lie, it's fun. Okay,
yeah,
we have a
yeah,
good time with these kids.
yeah.
Now, granted, they do drive me insane, like nobody else. But
Right.
we have the amount of experiences that I've had with my children, and maybe part of it is just, you know, wanting to
Yeah.
relive out my childhood through my kid. I don't know with the fun stuff, but I do
Right.
remember seeing a clip of, from Mr. Rogers, and he
Yeah.
was talking about how the biggest piece of advice, I think it was on the Oprah show, and he was being asked like the biggest piece of advice, and he was saying for parents not to lose their childlike wonder, you know,
Um,
not to lose that because you need that as a parent. You can't just
yeah.
be, parenting your kids like a army sergeant.
But it's funny you mentioned Mr. Rogers, because he also, like, he had a lot to say about parenting, but also how it not just having fun with your children and not losing that wonder, but it also allows you to kind of connecting what you said, remember yourself, right? Like your childhood, and like it kind of urges you to heal things, right? It
Yeah.
kind of activates, because that's that mirror right there. So, maybe you have missed out on having certain experiences as a child, and then this is your time. Listen, we got so many adults going to Disney and they loving it, because if mama couldn't afford it back then, you got it now, and you stay in Disney. You got Disney sheets, you got Disney cups.
Disney has a hold on our generation. I'm not even gonna lie. I know a lot of people my age who are like, Disney is life. And I'm not judging them. Do you with your own funds make it happen. It's
Right,
definitely
right.
theme parks are fun.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. We know it looks fun, and it can be fun, right? To have children to be able to recreate those childhood memories, to create some, because obviously we, like, especially now, we have an opportunity to show our children the shows that we used to watch because of
oh,
streaming and things like that. So some of those we're recreating, right? And the things that we used to do at home, like I was making paper boats or whatever. So you get those opportunities as well, but you're teaching them, and you're you know creating a safe and fun and fulfilling childhood. I think we all try to do that. And sometimes people look at it as this was the way that they envisioned their life. That is how they saw their life. It could be based on what their family dynamic was. It could be based on what the TV fed us. Okay. The Huxtables, them. Okay.
mm-hmm.
Everybody, but it is, um, you know, I would say the natural dynamic, but it's in the nuclear family, right? When I was growing up, the nuclear family was taught, you have mom, dad, and kids. I remember when my parents separated, that really, it was upsetting, because I'm like, oh, I don't have the nuclear family anymore. I
Yeah.
remember thinking that. So like, even in that situation, I could have went to that extreme and thought, okay, I'm going to grow up to recreate that. I did want to be healed, but that wasn't me. I was just like, I'm just not going, because you can't control things in the future. So when that time did come and you found somebody stable, I think innately I was like, okay, this is an opportunity to heal those wounds too. So,
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I agree with that as well. I do think that, it is an opportunity to see the possibility of something different and work towards
yes,
that.
yeah,
Uh, you know, Getting married and having children, it helped me to see my flaws in a big way and recognize like the things that I may have learned, not
mm,
even by being taught, but just by seeing
yeah, yeah,
and experiencing some of those ways, having to unlearn that. Like that's not a
yeah,
healthy way of being, and
right,
choosing to do things differently than the generation before. I think it
yes.
is an opportunity to do things differently.
It's
Uh,
growth.
yeah,
It's growth. And I think we don't think about like our grandparents, right? I'm sure my grandmother had dreams of what she wanted her family to look like, right? And it may not have been fully healthy. May have like her dreams may have been like healthy, right? But maybe the life she was living, maybe some things weren't always, cohesive. And then when my mom came, my mom decided she's going to do things differently. And then now I'm here and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do things a little, I take the things, you take what the
mm,
good, and you keep moving, and you're growing. So you're growing your family. You're becoming your grandparents' wildest dreams, right?
hmm. Yes, yeah, that is ultimately, I think, because you're just like you said, you're learning, you're growing, and the goal is that
Yeah.
you change the things.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that is the goal, right?
Yeah, yeah. To do
Not
better.
keeping, yeah, to do better, not
Yeah.
resting. And maybe, I know for me, I was like, I don't want to take this stuff into any,
Right, right.
any other kids. Like, I don't want them to have to experience this. But I
Mhm.
have that choice, and I'm glad that, um, obviously having children is a personal choice. Like
It
that is a
is.
desire that folks want to have fulfilled in their lives. It is a choice, it is a decision,
Yeah.
whether it is, you and your spouse having the conversation. Um, it is something that is having children does provide meaning, satisfaction, and connection in parents' lives. And there's an article that we read that talked about that being one of the reasons, even though it is overwhelming and annoying at times. Like it
Like
children
life.
like life, right? Like life. But it does give satisfaction, and it
Yeah,
does establish connection. And
yeah.
the relationship between a parent and a child
Mm. Mhm.
is top tier in the
Yeah.
list of relationships that impact us the most.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, with the spouse, but also definitely parent-child relationships are
Mm.
critical for our development.
Yeah.
But I understand how that could lead to, fear, not wanting to. If you
Right.
didn't have a healthy space um, where that relationship was developed, then I can understand why, someone would be hesitant.
For
Um,
sure, because it's intimidating. And I think there should be some grace afforded to parents as well who may have dropped the ball with parenting. And I'm not here to give an excuse to them, right? I'm not saying that it was great because I don't know everybody's story, but it is very intimidating to see that you have the power to mold and just the responsibility of another human being, and especially if you see yourself. And we were talking about this off recording about how much we see ourselves in our kids. And I mentioned that I said I'm really tough on myself, and I have to watch the way that I self talk, because the way that I'm
mm,
tough on myself, I can't be that way to her. Because first of all, she don't need my kids, because they didn't, they don't necessarily need that, and I don't need
yeah.
that either. So I have to relearn how to do that to myself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, if you're not gentle and kind to yourself, how are you giving that off, and how are you doing that, especially in a child that you can see yourself?
Ooh,
Sometimes people are so they really are battling, fighting themselves, which is why they have a hard time doing better or being better to their children, because they
yeah.
see themselves and they don't know how to love themselves. And that's a
Yeah.
real and I know we hear that a lot, and people think it's very cliche, but there's layers to that loving yourself. It's not just taking yourself to get your nails done. None of that. It's just, it's not just that. It's really
Or some of that.
it's
It's some
it's
of that.
some of that. It's some of it, but it's not just the exterior. It's a lot of the internal and the
Yeah.
interior things, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, facts. Yeah, I definitely agree with that as well. It's a self, and some people would say that having kids, and I've definitely seen folks say this online
Yeah.
in the comments of some of these videos that we
Yeah.
referenced, that are circulating about not wanting to be mothers. Um, people have said it's a selfish act.
Yeah.
And, I think that people can choose to be parents for different reasons, and that it can potentially be selfish, but it is a selfless act. It
It is.
really is selfless.
Yes. You can start it where you was doing it just to have someone, but guess what? If you decided you're doing it just to have someone, but you're being there for that little person, once it's reciprocal, you're there for each other. You're eventually not going to be selfish. You can't be selfish. In
Yeah.
parenthood, it's really just like you can, like on a
You can,
technical
yeah, you
tip.
can, you can
But
definitely.
the requirements of it, of I don't want to say good parenting, but maybe it is good parenting. It requires some selflessness.
It is good parenting.
There you
It
go.
requires selflessness because
It
there's
really
bad
does.
parenting out there.
Right there, you got that right. So it's hard to remain a selfish person and be a good parent.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's it. That's it. That conundrum is,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And
basically.
then some people decide to have children because their religion, they
Yeah,
also think that they don't need to. Birth control is when my body stops having kids. That's it.
that's right. Whether it's 5 kids or whether it's 15,
Yes,
and hey,
exactly.
go for it. And then other
Yeah.
people, they decide to have children because they feel like they're financially stable, they're
Right.
mentally and emotionally ready
Right.
for
Right.
such a decision, and that's
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
That is a wonderful thing. I will
Yes.
say we started out, things can be rocky unexpectedly.
Yes.
So I'll
For
say
sure.
that we started out, we were flying high and we were living a good full life. And then things changed unexpectedly and we still
Mhm.
had to, feed these kids. Like
Mhm,
that's kind of
mhm,
what it
mhm.
is. So
Yeah.
I think, well, that is a great and it's an ideal situation.
Yeah.
That's circumstances sometimes change. But I agree. I
Uh,
think, yeah, if you are able to be financially and emotionally stable,
mhm.
that is the ideal situation to bring a child into. It's not
Yeah.
the case for everyone because, of course,
Right.
things change. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
people do make that's a reason why folks decide to have kids because they feel like they're in a good space,
Good.
and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's a healthy reason to
Yeah,
have
yeah. That's
children.
nothing is wrong with that. Okay. Because children are expensive. There ain't nothing because it's
It's,
another person. First of all, I'm expensive. The end.
it's,
Okay. So I'm just saying. So I need to I mean, but it's the truth, right? We gotta take care of ourselves and then we gotta take on a whole other person. Shoot, insurance. We not living we live in America. It's not universal health care. We wish. But
yeah,
so there's a lot of things you have to think about, right?
yeah.
And then also people have kids because their friends have kids, and they're like, "Oh, we can all have friends, and kids be
You
friends." And
get
we,
stuck up. Yeah. This is true.
it's
And then
true.
traditions, a legacy. And I saw
Yeah.
someone again online making fun of someone because they were like, you want to have kids for legacy and your last name is Johnson. And it's
I
like,
don't understand that. Why you gotta be like that?
I don't know. I was like, calm down. Okay, calm down. Legacy means so many different things in so many different
Yeah,
ways.
yeah,
But I think about, the people who we revere in our society, the
mm,
Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, of it all, the Malcolm X of it all,
yeah,
the people who have actually changed our society. Like,
yeah.
thank God that it didn't just end with them.
Right.
you know, for that to me is something so wonderful. Even in my own family, being able to see certain things passed down, I'm like, oh, creativity is a through line in my family. What a
Yeah.
beautiful connecting point for everyone, you know?
Yes. Yes.
Um, Faith is also a through line in my family. Like that, those are
Yeah.
things where you can look back and you see, and that it gives you a
Mm.
sense of connectedness to the world.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, I think legacy, like I said, looks different. Some people choose to have children for that reason. They want to build a
Yeah.
legacy. They want to start new traditions. In my
Hmm.
family, look, we've started new traditions in my family. I didn't grow
Yeah.
up really having a lot of celebrations on my birthday. And I
Hmm.
was like, you know what? I really want to make our children like feel super special on
Yeah.
their day, like
Yeah.
top tier, because
Yeah.
that's not something that I grew up with.
Right.
And so to me, we've started our own little specific family traditions that are
Mhm.
just for us that
Yeah.
we hope that our kids will also tack on to them when they have children. So I,
Yeah.
I think like I don't just didn't. She put me off when she was saying, about legacy. It's like, yes, it means so many. It's multi.
It's so many things,
It's so many different things.
Oh yeah. And one more
Yeah.
thing about children, having children, for me, it also kind of like adjusted my perspective in life. So, or on life,
Yeah.
you realize,
Yeah.
like, even when you have children, you start to think, oh my gosh, like, okay, I need to be healthy. All right. I need to have a purpose. Like, you start to think about all the things that you need to have so that you can continue to take care of this little one. Then
Yeah.
you think
Kicks you
about
into
this.
gear.
Yes, you think about the cycle of life, like life and death. And then you think about, okay, if something happens to me, who's going to care for this child?
Yeah.
Like, you really think about just the whole scheme of life. And then what am I working for? What am I working towards? Like, your life, your goals start to shift. Like, okay, you may still have that creative goal, but the meaning starts to shift away. It kind of becomes, I want to say, it becomes more meaningful, right? Yes,
Yeah.
at first it was just a game for you, and you're like, okay, this is my dream, my goal. But then it start to think, okay, this can be great for all of us, like for my family. This is to show like you said last time about children need to see parents completing things, right? So you want to show them the process of things. like all these things, the way we live, we think every day, like showing up to our jobs, making sure we're accountable, responsible. We're not talking about that to our children. They're just watching, right? So a lot
Mm-hmm.
of our life, the acts, the steps we take, it is so much more meaningful because we have an audience.
Yeah, no facts. Listen, that is like the biggest thing that I think about. How am I modeling showing up in the world in an honorable way?
Mhm.
Um, is something that's always on my mind. Even yesterday, I was like kind of complaining because I didn't want to do the specific thing. And I'm like, no, girl, that's not what you want to model. Like, that's what I went to sleep. I was like, I review my day before I go to bed. And I
Yeah.
was like, girl, you need to check that, check that because you don't want your kids to be, even though they're doing the thing, you don't want them to be complaining about it the whole time.
We don't want to hear it. I'd be like,
Because I
after
don't
two
want to
times,
hear it.
I don't want to hear it.
So yeah, it's just it's
Yeah.
a check, and it is a huge responsibility. And I think that's why we understand why folks are like, I don't want
Nuh-uh.
to have children. I
Right?
don't want to have children. I don't want to have kids. And
No,
we
yeah.
understand that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's a lot of different, again, of reasons why folks are like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't want to have kids. It could be
Right.
financial. It could
Mm-hmm.
be, especially now with health and, you know,
Yeah.
healthcare disparities, especially with Black
Uh-huh.
maternal
Yes.
health. Uh, Sometimes it's lack of a support system, or
Yeah.
it might be, like you face societal pressure.
Right,
You're
right.
like,
Mm-hmm.
you're not gonna make me do nothing that I don't want.
No, facts.
Then personal lifestyle choices.
Yeah.
Also, some of it might be psychological, right? There's like we talked about in this conversation, experiencing trauma, unhealthy parental relationships. You might have mental, or medical health concerns. Like, I know I don't want to
Yeah.
pass this trait
Right.
down
You don't want to
to,
don't want to perpetuate like negative things. Right, right.
yeah. And even if it is something medical, you
Right.
know,
That mm-hmm.
um, I don't want my child to potentially have
Inherit that. Mm-hmm.
inherit this disease or this sickness. So I'm going to bow out of having children,
Right, right, right.
biologically. But there's so many,
Yeah.
parents who are not biological parents and who provide amazing
Oh yeah.
parental relationships. And that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Oh
And,
yeah.
for some folks, it's also their career aspirations.
Oh yeah.
They have goals that they want to accomplish, and they feel like
Mm-hmm.
kids are going to stand in the way of that goals.
Right.
I know. Here's a quick clip from Issa Rae about her thoughts. Living her life and her career, and what she thinks about, potentially having children. Like that soundbite in right there.
Yeah.
And so basically, she doesn't want kids to slow her down. What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I think for so long, and we're hoping, especially with this podcast, we're also hoping that things are going to begin to shift in a huge way. That we begin to see mothers as more than just mothers, and also as people, right?
Yeah, what a
um,
concept.
right. But I also believed, and I think also seeing my mom too, and she's talked to me about this. She said when she, went through separation, she decided that she was doing everything for her children. And watching that, how she, she fully put like a lot of her energy into us. And I thank God for it. So also for me, it was like, duplicity where? Like, why? I didn't, it was you a
Yeah.
mom, you a mother, right? And then also seeing how even when women had children, I remember I worked at a place, I'm not gonna call it name, but they it was mostly women. But I also remember when they were hiring, they were like, "Oh, she has children." Like yeah, they really hesitated, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And like this before I had kids, I was like, "Oh," they said, "Yeah, because if the kids get sick, she has to be out." So who gonna take care of the sick kids then? Like, what you expect? Like, so that also, like all those things, there's a lot of subtleties. It was never really in your face, like, "Oh, you're a mom," blah, but it was a lot of, well, you're going to put your child before any of our stuff, right? You're not going to be focused. You're not going to make the job a priority. Like it will be and honestly, let's be honest, your job can be a priority, but it's not the only priority.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that people didn't understand that you can have that duplicity. You can act, you can still be a parent, and you can very much 100% committed, and you can still be very much committed to your position. It's just, but it wasn't really much space to show that that they're happening, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of, it is crazy that folks, yeah, have that perspective. Like,
Hmm.
oh no, we're not going to hire her because she's going to
Yeah,
want to
because she
take
gonna
care of
call
her kids.
when your kids, yes, but not even that she might get sick, right? But God forbid, they don't want you to get sick. I don't understand. We hiring humans, right? I don't understand.
What do they
And
think's going to happen?
men take off to take care of their kids too. So I really don't understand that.
Yeah, but it is definitely uh, some of that is symptoms of our society because
Yeah, for
men
sure.
will not get that same treatment. They
They
won't
don't
get
even
that.
ask you if you have kids. They don't.
Yeah, that's
Like
it's
because
crazy.
the idea is that your kid's sick, we're your wife.
Yeah, yeah,
She gonna take
yeah.
care of the kids. Why you got to take, like, that's the idea. Like, okay, you married and you have kids, great. That's not gonna stop you from doing this job because you got a wife
Period.
and a living babysitter and nurse. And okay, all right. And I digress. But yeah, but what did you think about having kids with your career? Like, what did you think about, like,
I think that
having
was my fear. My fear was um I don't want kids to stop me from accomplishing my goals. Okay, that was my thoughts. And the way that my husband stumbled into my life, by the grace of God, changed my perspective.
Yeah.
But that was my fear. Like, I don't want to be stopped. That's kind of what it was. So I understand when people say that, like, I didn't want to be stopped. But I
Yeah.
remember having a conversation recently, actually, with a married friend, and she was just asking me about having kids and working in the entertainment industry, and I said, look, pop out them kids whenever you want to. All right, because nothing can really stop you from accomplishing your goals. The
Mm.
timing might change, and that's just the reality,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
No matter what happens in life, there are things that happen that we can't predict. Now
Right.
granted, you can kind of plan to have a child, but
Sometimes things
and sometimes
happen.
things happen. Okay, so
Yeah.
but yeah, the timing might change, but the plan won't really stop unless you do. And for me, it was just telling her, like, if God's giving you a job to do, you're the only person who could really stop it. And for me, I'm most inspired by women who raise happy, healthy, whole children while crushing their goals. To me, Serena winning while she was with child.
Girl, that she didn't raise the bar now. I don't know if it's,
You know what
but
I'm
you know what?
saying?
Let's, can we, I think we also need to mention how difficult it is as well.
Oh,
Okay. To do
for
both.
facts, 100%.
Okay. And
Yeah,
I am not knocking my mom or any other mom who decided, you know what, I'm going to push pause on my things for a bit so I can pour into my children,
100%.
because being a parent is so multifaceted. Okay.
100%.
You caring about this whole person. Like, it's like, and I know some things happen passively, right? It's not, you don't necessarily have to put your hands in everything. But I think about, the emotional development, their creative
Yeah,
development, their physical development, making sure you socialize enough. Like, the list goes on and on. And
yeah.
that alone is a full-time job. Okay.
It's a full-time job, and that's why I'm inspired by folks who are doing it and acknowledging
Yeah.
that it's not
It's not
easy.
easy. It's
It
not a
is not
cakewalk.
easy, um, but it is so worth it. I don't
Yeah, it is. It's fulfilling. It's for sure fulfilling.
it's a blessing to be able to shape and mold someone's life in this particular way through being a parent. And it's
Mhm.
not something that I don't take that lightly, but I understand,
Yeah.
again, women who are like, I don't know that this is something that I can do or want to do. I'm in
Right.
my selfish era. Like, take me on trips, put me on boats,
Yeah,
and,
yeah, yeah.
and that's fine and that's okay. But I think when it comes to just the career aspect of it, I remember talking to Christine Swanson, and she's a director, directed the Clark Sisters movie, and I met her at an event one time, and I just pulled her aside because at that time I was like, I need to know everything about how y'all doing this with these kids. Okay.
Yes.
And what she said was, she took a break She graduated,
Mhm.
her and her husband, and started having children, and she took a break
Look at
from
that.
working in entertainment. She was like, she was on
Yeah.
this path and she just hit pause. And now
Wow.
she's now that when her kids got older, she went
Yeah.
back into it.
Love
And
it.
and again, for so many people, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe I'm making the decision right now. Because I
Yeah.
know ultimately, and this is for me, like what God has for me is what he has for me. And
Yeah.
the timing, again,
Yeah.
maybe not what I expected,
Right.
but it's still not going to stop the goals from being
It's
accomplished.
there you go.
And also, my children are a huge part of my purpose. They're like the ultimate thing, right? If I am pouring into my career and all of that, and I'm not caring for my children, that's an imbalance. So
Yeah.
I deeply respect people who are like, I know that if I have kids right now, they're going to be second place.
Right, right, right.
And so to me, I deeply respect it. I deeply,
Yeah,
deeply
for
respect anyone
sure.
who's self-aware enough to go,
Yes.
this is not for
Yeah.
me. And like
Yeah.
that's a big to know that because there is so much societal
Yeah.
pressure to do it
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
take a step back and you're like, actually, I
Yeah.
don't want to do it. And I don't want to do it with you. With that person,
Right.
who might be
Right.
asking.
And listen, and that is your prerogative. That's your
Period.
choice. Yeah, yeah,
Period.
yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah. And then I know there are a lot of people who have negative perspectives and are super there's
Oh
just so
boy.
much super
Hmm.
judgmental
Yes.
frameworks out there, and we are not for it. We
No.
are not for it, okay? We're just
No. No.
not we will not have it though. Uh,
Will
uh,
not.
it is no one should be judged for the decisions that they make. I don't know, Danielle, if this happened to you, but I've been judged for having children. And people are usually shocked when I say I have kids. And then
Yeah.
they're shocked when I have four. And I'm not ever really sure, like, why y'all surprised? Like,
Yeah, people out here
what's the
having
reason?
like 10 and 10 plus. Now, I honestly, for me, if somebody tell me to have 10 kids, I'm like, whoa, that's a lot. That would
In this
surprise me.
economy, in this
Right.
economy.
That would surprise me. But also I'd be like, good for you. Right. But even somebody has okay, but maybe they're thinking that you're not supposed to look like what you've been through. Maybe you're supposed to look like what
Eh,
you've been through.
I mean, and listen, I'm grateful. Okay.
Okay.
I do remember one time I went to the doctor. I was on my way. We were having our fourth
Mhm,
surprise fourth.
mhm.
Actually, he wasn't a surprise. The third one was a surprise. The fourth one was like well, this is gonna be too TMI. Okay, so
Never
anyway,
mind.
we're gonna skip past that part. Anyway, I was on the way to my OB, and this woman was like, "Oh, are all these your kids? You shouldn't have anymore." And I was like, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I know it was
Mm-mm-mm.
along the lines of like, "Don't worry about what I am doing over here.
Right.
Okay, don't worry about what I got going on over here." It
It's
was
the
so rude
mm-mm.
and disrespectful.
The
Uh,
boldness. The boldness. Like if she paying your bills. I just no.
and
That's
girl,
no.
and she was she was an older lady, but I'm also, why are you worried about my body part? Why are you worried about what I got going on? Why are you worried about this over here? And she's like, oh, they're beautiful children, don't have any more. I was like, lady,
Mm-mm. Uh-uh.
how deep in my privates do you want to be? Because right now, you're in the zone that you're not authorized to be in. Okay? Yeah, this you're back it up. All right.
This is why I don't have a smiley face when I go in the store. Okay. I don't want anybody talking to me. I don't want you. And I just don't. I just because I'm not gonna be nice. And I don't, first of all, I don't want to be out of character. I love to be nice, okay? But don't disrespect me because guess what?
Disrespect.
It's too you're too bold faced, but it's all over. We just saw a news clip with a politician
Mm,
making mention and judging, um, you know, Miss Kamala Harris,
mm,
um, about not having children, biological children. So it once again goes into that whole thing, like people thinking that they have authority or a place to say what women should do with their bodies.
yeah.
Who can, and I just, we look at what happened with abortion, and I'm just like, why y'all so wound up? And the ones making the decision, they don't have not one vagina, okay? Not one. So you're
Yeah.
making these decisions for people, and it's not, you don't know nothing. Yeah, and it's getting a little out of hand.
Yeah. And I think that even with some, because abortion is such a, trigger, especially going into like this
Yes,
election,
yes.
that it is so much more nuanced than
Yeah.
services. It is
Mm-hmm,
so
mm-hmm.
much.
Yeah.
I've had conversations
Mm-hmm.
with folks who are just like frivolously doing it, people who had to do it because of medical reasons. It's
Yeah.
such a nuanced conversation. I think it's easy to just go this or that. And
Right.
even with motherhood, this or
Yes.
that.
Yes. No, but there's so many layers, you really, especially understanding that women they need safe spaces, and not everybody wants to broadcast their information, want to broadcast the things that they're going through. So having places like abortion clinics that once again does multiple services, right?
Multiple
Meets
services.
multiple needs, right? There, it's not just one thing or the other, and it's not, and really villainizing it as such. It's once again just you're really overstepping and not and really minimizing the care that women need, right? And that, you know, we can go on and
Yeah.
on.
And
We
it's
can go on.
crazy because I love that you said multiple services, because there's some services
Yes.
that women have to do and they can only do it, and it's so and
Yes. Yes.
it's such a it's
Yeah.
such a sensitive topic.
Yeah.
But it's a nuanced conversation. And I think it's
Yeah.
the same with motherhood. It is not just simply either or, right? Either you're
Right. Right.
going to be
Right.
a mom or you're not going to be a
Not
mom. And
right.
because I think that's where the judgment comes in. Well,
Right.
you're a woman, you've got the parts. Why are you choosing not to have children? It's
You
very
got the
selfish of
parts.
you not to want. And it's like, man, there's so much
Right.
nuance in there. What about the person
Right.
who actually wants to have children, who is not
Yes.
actually able to biologically
So
conceive?
there you
And that is
go.
something that's a burden on their heart.
Right.
That's a desire that they have and they're not able to fulfill. And you're meanwhile questioning them, pointing the finger. You should be. How come you haven't yet? What's
Right.
wrong with you? How that makes a woman feel. And regardless of if it's medical, if it's just, I don't want to do that. Guess what?
Yes.
Do you, boo? We are not trying to say that this is the end all be all. Folks change their minds.
Facts.
We've seen it in our personal lives and in the media.
Mm-hmm,
We've
mm-hmm.
experienced it, did not want to have kids, decided, you know what? In the future,
Yeah.
we don't leave room for that in our society.
Right.
We're like, oh, you
Yes.
changed your mind. Oh.
Yeah.
It's like,
No.
yeah,
I'm not the same person I was 5 minutes ago. We keep saying that. We change, okay?
we
Circumstances
change.
change. Things happen. All right, 5 minutes is an exaggeration, people, just so for the ones who nitpick. But just to say that you have, like, especially Facebook memories will remind you of the stuff you used to say 5, 10 years
Come
ago. And
on
you'd be
now.
like, damn, you were slow. You read your stuff, you were like, thank God that you learn a little bit. So now you're not talking so crazy and reckless. People change and their minds change. And we should not bully anybody into motherhood and pressure them, you know, to not have it either. Like it just no, just leave people, let people decide. But I think we also as mothers have I think we should share both the pros and cons.
Yeah,
Because a lot of times if give the whole package. And also, you could preface with saying this is my story, because every story looks different.
yeah,
Um, but it is a joy. It's beautiful. It is challenging, but even things in life, your desired career, I am sure, like, no career woman can tell me that it was all rainbows and cupcakes. Okay. I'm sure there was challenges, and times you're like, oh my gosh, why did I choose this? But it was rewarding. So there's work involved, but it is very much rewarding.
yes. It's very rewarding. And I think the heart of it all is,
Yeah,
our goal here is really shouldn't be shaming.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
We shouldn't be shaming each other
yeah,
at all. And
yeah,
if you don't, if you want to have kids,
yeah.
great. If you don't want to have children,
That's great
Just
too.
yeah, that's fine. Don't
Yeah, it's
just don't
fine.
judge either
Yeah.
way, you know?
Right,
Being
right.
child free, it does not make you, or I won't say being child free, but not choosing not to have children does not make you any less of a woman. And just like
Right.
actually choosing to have children, it doesn't make you any more of a woman. Um, I think we really do have to like allow for some people to make choices,
Yeah.
and for the gray areas to be able to be seen as well, and allow for people to just again make decisions
Yeah.
um of their own accord. But yeah, I let's just allow people to be, and
Yeah. Just let them be.
yeah, let folks be. I mean, and being honest, I do love that you said being honest about what it is. Although I will add, and I think I mentioned this earlier in the beginning, that,
Mhm.
sometimes when folks are honest, they get backlash on either side.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and so
Yeah.
again, just,
But people saying, oh, then why you shouldn't have had none? Then
yeah,
why you wouldn't have had? No, listen, I could love my job and still have hard days once
yeah,
again.
yeah, yeah.
So, and
It's the
if
gray.
you don't want to hear me vent about it, then don't read it or don't listen or don't
Just
say that
scroll
you
past it.
just scroll past. Yeah, but if
All it
you
takes
if
is
you
a
can
thumb swipe.
relate, yeah, and if you can relate, then just say, yeah, I hear you, because it's just a part. It's just one day. It's one moment in time.
Yeah, no, absolutely facts. So yeah, on that note,
Yeah.
what's one way motherhood has enriched your life?
Ooh. I honestly think it has allowed me to just really enjoy the days, the moments, um, and just to revisit the things that bring me joy, right? Because realizing that the things that I enjoy, my children enjoy as well, and we get to do it together. So
Yeah.
it has been, very enriching to see that you got little best friends in a sense. I know your kids not your best friends, but it's like that sometimes. You have moments when they're like your little best friends. And they definitely encourage me. They remind me that they're looking. So it
Mm-hmm.
always encourages
Come
me
on now.
to be on my best. I'm fiercely protective, but I definitely feel that's how it has. How has motherhood enriched your life?
Ooh, baby. There's so many ways.
Mm,
I would say the main thing is just helped me to really see the beauty and the wonder in the world and in myself.
mm. Oh, I like that.
Um, yeah, the beauty and the wonder in the world and myself. And also it's a check,
Mm,
it's a little check in your soul. And you're like,
mhm,
oh,
mhm,
you know,
mhm,
mm,
mhm,
hold up
mhm.
now. This is not quite, I need to really work on this area of myself.
Yes, yes, yes.
I need to really, work on that a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of self-reflection comes through my kids. And
Mm.
oh, I just have funny moments. Just attached to that. My son one day was like, "You should read your Bible more." No, he was,
Ooh.
and I was like, "You know what? It was a rough time." And I was like, "Man, you know what? He's actually right." I do need, at that time I needed to really, really, I mean, just at all times, right? But at that specific time, it was a rough patch. And just those little moments where it's like, man, I'm grateful for these kids. Like, I just look
Yeah.
at them sometimes and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm grateful for you." Not
Oh,
because you're my child, but just because I see the person that you're becoming. And I'm
yeah.
glad to say that, like, I had a part, like I
Oh,
had a part in that.
yeah.
It's a
Oh,
beautiful
I
thing.
love
So,
that.
what's something you miss about being child free, girl? Because we love these kids, but
Oh, I don't honestly, I think sleep. I like, like having like like not such a busy schedule. I kind
yeah,
of, that's what but I'm not even gonna lie to you. I say that the sleep thing for real, like hands down, all caps, right? Um, But the schedule thing, with or without them, my schedule would have been packed because I have a tendency, I have like seasons where I'm like, okay, there's nothing on the calendar. And then I just add like 10. And then I add 10. And then I'm like, oh, and then I like minimize, I drop it down. And then I'm back again, like, like, but I think that's healthy, seasonal, just like, my leaves fall off, but that's really, it was going to be packed anyway. So really, I think the sleep is number one.
Mm. Sleep, number one. Yeah, I would say sleep. I would say sleep too, but I would also say I think I was having the issue before I had kids. So I don't know. I would say more empty space in my mind.
Ah, oh,
Yeah.
listen. Oh, yeah. Because of the concerns,
Yeah.
honestly, and I don't even notice it until you're not like, until you get that break. Like I
Yeah.
notice it when I go on vacation, when I'm not having to worry about breakfast, lunch, dinner, or like everybody are getting enough activity, like the list of things that they need. So you absolutely like that mental space, that's a real thing. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a real thing.
Yeah. I would say that is the top tier. And I agree with you when I am having to travel. I have a lot more I have more space in my mind. Now, initially, when I was first traveling, there's a lot more anxiety filling up the space.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
now that I'm a lot more comfortable about going and,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
just trusting that my kids will be fine when I'm away,
Mhm.
um, I definitely have, you know, a lot more free mental space to think about myself and
Myself,
my
yeah, yeah,
life
yeah.
and things that I want to do.
Right.
So yeah, that is one of the things I miss about being child free.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just being able to pick up and go, because I would love,
I
when
do
you
it.
gonna,
Listen, I'll say,
I
listen,
mean,
I got this time I need to go. And that's one thing I thank God for my community. Yeah, for our community and for our spouses and stuff, being able, because I remember there was a time where people used to be like, oh, I can't go out because I have kids. But because of hearing that, I feel like I have, worked with my husband where when I need I need some time. Listen, I want to go out, so, we make it work. So we help each other out in that regard.
yeah, no. I think I would do a lot more traveling if, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
for
yeah, yeah,
leisure
yeah.
for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's it for us, you guys. We want you to join the conversation. We want to hear
Please
your
do.
answer to those questions. So
Yes.
drop a comment on Spotify or send us a message on Instagram because we want to hear what
Yeah.
y'all have to say.
Yeah.
About
How
both.
has motherhood enriched your life? And what do you miss about being child free?
Yes. And that's it for us, you guys. Thank you so much for listening in. You can catch us weekly on Spotify and Amazon Music, and feel free to drop us a review.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook to get more information and inspiration on motherhood and making things. We're always sharing fun memes, encouraging tips, all the things.
Yes. And if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and share it with a friend. If you have a question or comment, send us an email at the ProCreatives Podcast at gmail.com. Until next time.
Bye.